Hi, I'm Jessica Stegall, Program Administrator for Danos' On-the-Job Learning Program. Today I have with me Giselle, who's going to be sharing her journey of graduating college to getting her start in the oil and gas industry through Danos' On-the-Job Learning Program. Giselle, thank you for joining me today. So tell me, why did you enroll in process technology?
So thank you for having me. I was actually going for a safety degree. The professor that I took my safety classes with taught process technology courses as well. And so I knew safety wasn't as much hands-on, and he was like, hey, you should try process technology, give it a try, take a couple of classes first and see how you like it. So the next semester was when I switched my courses and my classes, and from there on I continued process technology and finished my degree with that.
At what point in your education did you know that you picked the right career path?
So I was in my operations class, and we have a mock unit is what they call it. We were able to go out into a smaller unit, work on a couple of equipment, pumps, some valves, and that one was more hands-on. I was out there trying to start up the unit, working in the control room with my classmates. I found it enjoyable, something that I knew I would like to do, learning how to troubleshoot or how to solve problems when one thing wasn't going right or the other. I knew that that was something I wanted to do in my life. Like I'm a person who likes to solve things, so I enjoyed it from there on.
So while you were in school, what type of work were you hoping to be able to get when you finished your degree?
I was hoping to get a job in the refineries. Working with Exxon was my biggest one. We have a big Exxon refinery over there, and back at Baytown, and everybody would just talk about Exxon this and Exxon that, and so that was one. Chevron Phillip was another one, and I was something a little bit closer to home to see and start off my career, and then from there travel on, but never expected this offshore. So
when I was about to ask, had you ever heard much about offshore? Was that anything that you were considering?
No, actually I was new to this offshore side of process technology. I didn't know there was rigs out in the middle of the ocean, pumping crude or a separating process. I always knew it was back home, back on land, and this experience has been pretty awesome.
So when did you start applying for jobs, and what did that process look like for you while you were in the job hunt?
I started off a little bit later. I was 2 months into my graduation date, and that's when I started applying. And I would get rejections from the companies I would apply to. I had a couple of interviews here and there, and was able to have plant tours and see the companies I applied to. Got rejected on that. Was feeling a little bit down, and was ready to go back to school for a different degree. I was like, maybe this isn't for me. I knew I enjoyed it in school, so I kept it going. I still applied. I didn't stop until I knew I was going to land on a job.
And how long had you been applying?
It was a year. So I was working as a part-time process technology tutor at that time, and I was communicating with professors every day, seeing students every day, and they helped me with job openings. So they would tell me, look, get into this one, go apply to this one, give me your resume for this one. And little by little, it took me a while after a year.
So how did you hear about Danos and their on-the-job learning program?
So as a process tech tutor, I am really comfortable with one of my professors. He is kind of like was my work grandpa, and he would tell me, this job opening is open, or go apply to this company. And he let me know about a little convention center in Louisiana, and how there was going to be different tables set up for different companies. I decided to print out my resumes last minute, decided to come. I was a little bit more on and off because I had got rejected from one of the companies, and I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. Like, I'm done with this. And last minute I decided, no, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to print it out and print out my resumes and go and apply. So I went around, started talking to tables, landed on the Danos table, told them a little bit about me, my college background, where I live. I got questions asked about the offshore. Didn't know what that was, but I'm open to opportunities. So I gave my resume, went back home, started researching about offshore, what they all do, how it works, like travel expenses, things like that, in case I was able to land on a job out there.
So you were selected for a position with Danos' on-the-job learning program, and you have worked several hitches offshore now. Tell us, what is working offshore been like, and what are you learning out there?
So my first hitch, I was completely nervous. I didn't know what was going on. I knew I had to get on a helicopter, and from there I was like, okay, whatever happens, happens. After a while I got adjusted. I got to meet new people. Everybody was so welcoming. I'm currently working with the control room operators offshore, so I'm more on the production side of the process, having to learn how the crude and oil is separated, collected from the ocean, run through a couple of systems and equipment out into the platforms, and to be sold. So it's a lot to learn, but it's an awesome way to learn.
What are some of the benefits to working offshore versus a job that you would be home every night?
Apart from my three brothers back at home and having to hear them, it's a great experience to know what actually is out there in the ocean, how things operate. Spending 2 weeks out there and actually getting the knowledge that you need, rather than going out to a company that's can be 12 hours and then going back home and then again 12 hours going back home. The 2 weeks helped me a little bit more with knowing I'm working 12 hours, going to sleep, and then still waking up in the same area, same environment, to where I know I could go back out there and be like, okay, this is what I'm looking at. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm learning. I know I can constantly ask questions because supervisors are on board, operators are on board, contractors are there as well. So it's a great learning experience for me.
And how is the 2 weeks that you have off? You know, are you able to get a whole lot more done than if you worked, you know, a job that where you were home every day?
It goes by very fast. So I can go home and think I have the 2 weeks, and it feels like it's only 4 days. I do have a little bit of time to spare to where like I can go out with friends, or maybe study a little bit more, research on my own, some things that I may have seen back at work, and kind of go more in depth, learn into it, so when I go back out there, I can be like, okay, I know what you're talking about. Mention it to me, or if you speak about it to anybody, I can catch on into the conversation and know. Other than that, my little vacation time goes by pretty fast when I'm back home.
Was there anything about offshore that you thought you would not like, but you ended up liking?
I thought I was not gonna like it because I expected the platform or rig to move, I expected it to like sway a little bit because of the ocean, but it's not like that. So it feels like I'm on land. Another thing was a helicopter. I fly on planes here and there, but never on a helicopter. So I thought it was going to be a little bit more scary. I would have felt more turbulence, but I didn't. I actually enjoy the helicopter rides.
What advice would you give to anyone who is considering a position offshore?
I would say go for it. It's a great opportunity, great experience, something you don't see on a day-to-day basis, learning out there, and it's a whole different environment than coming back home and knowing where everything is at. You kind of have like your own space out there as well, so that helps a little bit on the mental side, to where if you're frustrated back at home, like you're not as frustrated out at work. It's an awesome opportunity. So I would say go for it.
Awesome. So tell me about the onboarding process. Did you feel that you were given enough information and training from Danos before going offshore for your first hitch?
I would say yes. The training that I got for the simulation of the helicopters and going into the pool kind of helped me a little bit with what I can be using out there. Training back at home and getting into the computer, learning a little bit more off of the videos, what offshore is, what they do out there, how it's operated, and doing the questionnaires. It helped me a little bit more, so when I was out there, I wasn't completely new to it. I knew I can refer back to the videos and be like, okay, I seen this on this video, or I heard about this on in the training. I spoke about this with one of the Danos employees, and knowing that I can go back into the PowerPoints that were given, and having that communication back on land helped a little bit more.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Giselle, for joining me today. I appreciate you coming in and visiting.
Thank you for having me.